Out there, hello and welcome to the Empowered Immigrant podcast. I am Otis Landerholm and I'm so grateful to be here with you today. Remember that the Empowered Immigrant podcast is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration law and to make the most out of their lives. And today we are so fortunate. We are so lucky, all right? We have a local celebrity lawyer, a Best of Oakland award winner, a Law Firm 500 award winner, a top 3 criminal defense attorneys award winner. You know who I'm talking about. We have Joanna Nieves on our podcast today of the Nieves Law Firm. Joanna, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you. Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. It's just an honor to be on a podcast with somebody who has so much passion and purpose behind everything that they do. So I'm glad to be here.
And so tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your firm.
Yeah, sure. So Joanna Nieves, owner of the Nieves Law Firm in Oakland, California, where we take the criminal out of criminal defense. I have spent most of my life in Florida, went to Florida State undergrad, go Noles, went there for law school too, go Noles again. And then I came to California, worked at the district attorney's office in Sacramento. I did civil litigation for a little while after that. And then I opened my own firm to do criminal defense. And since then, we have been just rocking and rolling in, the Bay Area, doing active criminal cases and a lot of post-conviction work, which is my passion project. So I'm so glad to be here to talk about that today. Our firm really focuses on criminal defense, restraining orders, contempt. And within criminal defense, it's either the active stuff or the post-conviction work. And post-conviction is a really critical part, and especially when it comes to people with immigration consequences.
Yeah. Tell us more about that term. What does post-conviction relief mean for those who might not be familiar? What is a motion to vacate for those who might not be familiar? How can these things really help the immigrant community?
Yeah, so I'll start with a very brief criminal life cycle, right? When you get arrested for a crime, that crime might be charged by the DA. They'll file a paper called a complaint that shows the charges against you, and then you'll go to court. And sometimes you'll go to court a lot, or your attorney will go to court a lot, and there'll be, this discovery process and pretrial process, and then finally you either go to trial or you take a resolution, and that resolution or a finding of guilt will have consequences attached to it. And one of those consequences are immigration consequences that people have to have, as non-citizens, must have a meaningful understanding of what that means for them in their future and how this outcome could potentially impact their immigration status or the lack thereof. And so our job as criminal defense attorneys is to not just kind of punt it over and say hey, an immigration attorney can help you with that. Our job is to be advised, be aware of what the consequences are and communicate that, even if it means that we picked up the phone and had a call with an immigration attorney to enlighten ourselves so we can share some information, look up the codes, and give people an understanding of what it means for their future. So that's the process. Unfortunately, there are people who've made mistakes, attorneys, right, who failed to do this. And so their clients are now faced with the bad end of those consequences, where they're in removal proceedings or they got a notice of removal proceedings. They're being denied for adjustment of status or getting, all of the things that you help with at your firm. They're facing these hardships because of a conviction they weren't properly advised about. That's where we come in. We file a motion to vacate, to not just let's expunge your conviction or let's just dismiss it. No. This conviction was legally invalid, and we are undoing it and then seeing if we can get it dismissed altogether or resentenced to something immigration safe.
Yep. It's so, for those who aren't aware, it's so valuable. All right. This is a complete game changer for a person's immigration case. So, not, not in every case, right? But in some cases, it changes everything. All right. And so it's like, anyway, Joanna, like you've helped so many of our firm's clients, of my clients, and I just love it. I love sending my clients to you. I know that they're in good hands when we send clients to you. Speaking on that issue, when a client is like, or when a person is like, I had this criminal conviction, I know I need to get it taken care of, vacated. What should a client who's savvy, who wants the best result for themselves, what should they watch out for when choosing a criminal defense attorney? What goes into a motion to vacate that maybe people might not be aware of?
Right. I think first of all, it's the language, right? The fact that we're talking about vacating a conviction rather than just like dismissing it, or some people like to use the word expunge, that's not going to have a real impact on the immigration side of things. And sometimes
Right.
when they're speaking with like other attorneys, those attorneys are like, yeah, I can do a dismissal for you. Yeah, I can file a 1203.4, but
That's right.
that's not the same thing as a motion to vacate. So that's the first flag, like being familiar with what you're asking for. So if you're going to go to an attorney, I know I need a motion to vacate because I need something that's going to impact immigration. The other thing is just like kind of doing research on that attorney's presence in the community as it relates to post-conviction work. If this is something that the attorney is regularly practicing, it's going to be on their website. It'll be published cases regarding the work that we've done. So if you Google it, you're going to find cases related to the work that we've done. It's on our website. It's on YouTube. I teach this with, I have a state bar approved MCLE that I've taught on. And so I think it's important to see that people are trying to make themselves experts in that area, because it's not an area to be taken lightly. Just like with criminal defense, this is something that impacts people's lives and their futures. So I think the investment that an attorney is willing to make in educating themselves in the field is super important too. Oh, and one more thing, if I can add, is
Please.
their relationship with other immigration attorneys. Because if, immigration attorneys the immigration attorneys in the community are probably familiar, one, that there's not a lot of people who do this and not a lot of people who do it well. And they want to likely refer their clients to somebody who's going to be able to at least aim for the best results possible. We can't promise any results, but who knows how to navigate it, and then send them back for the immigration work that needs to get done. So those relationships and the reputation of that firm, even with the immigration attorney that they might be working with.
I guess what I want to add in there for the immigrants listening is like, if you have a conviction on your record that has a challenge, that's causing a challenge for your immigration case, and you might have heard, oh, mi primo, right? My cousin had a DUI once and hired some lawyer right out of law school that represented them on that case, and they won, and so great, I should just go with that guy. Like, really, this is a very nuanced type of service that you're wanting to look for. And so don't just go with any lawyer that can handle it. Choose wisely. Yeah.
I just want to add to that too, that like the expectation of what you're getting also, because when you are choosing somebody, they might make it seem really simple and easy, and oh yeah, we'll just file this form, and that's not really how it works, right? It's like it's a very substantial motion. Like our motions regarding this are usually about 30 pages long, which is not, in comparison to something like an expungement, a couple pages that people are submitting. It really matters the relationships that you have with the DAs in various counties, because you're wanting to negotiate something after someone's already been sentenced. So like, can you convince the DA to see things from your client's perspective and understand the lack of understanding that was there? And so that's important too, that people don't like run into a situation where the criminal defense attorney is like undermining the work that has to go into this, because then they probably haven't really done it before.
I know that there are some counties that are better than others. I know that some judges are more favorable to these types of motions and some judges less favorable. How much do you see, like how much do you tweak or tailor your motion work depending on the county or the judge?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, because we do these motions throughout the state of California. So we've seen a lot of different counties, and you'll see that sometimes like the smaller, more like rural counties
Yeah.
have a more contentious approach to them than some of like your Bay Area counties. I mean, San Francisco is just amazing to work with. Imperial County, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really depends. And I've seen it on both sides. I can think of a county where the DA was on board, but then the judge was giving all of this pushback. And it's like having to go in there and educate the judge and be armed with like your binder full of case law. So you're like, judge, you need to take a break from the bench and read this case.
Yeah.
Because that those situations happen too. So the counties where, I mean, there are some counties, for instance, like Alameda County, they have taken steps to have a Padilla attorney in their office. So they actually kind of get it.
Yeah.
And so if the public defender's office is taking those kind of steps, you can imagine that the community pretty much understands that this is an important issue. And some places you might say the phrase Padilla attorney and nobody knows what you're talking about. So, and with that said, Padilla was a Supreme Court case that it reaffirmed what past cases had been saying and standards that had previously been set. But this was something that was like, hey, criminal defense attorneys, you have a duty to your clients. People have to meaningfully understand. And then from there, it was codified into the statutes that allow us to now bring these motions to vacate where people didn't properly understand. So Padilla attorneys are the ones who help advise on immigration consequences.
And so that's a tip out there, right? For anyone watching, if you're looking for this type of attorney, you might search for them as a quote unquote Padilla, which stands for one of the Supreme Court cases that decided this issue, right? A Padilla attorney. And so, yeah, that's awesome. I'd love for you to address briefly, like, if we ever get arrested, if I ever get arrested for something, what should I do and what should I not do? And, let's kind of normalize the know our rights conversation.
Yeah.
But also, if there's anything else that you want to share with us, yeah, please do.
Sure. So, first things first, call the Nieves law firm. But
That's right.
if you do get into a situation, the thing is, like, everybody has, the majority of people have some type of encounter with law enforcement in their lives for one reason or another. And you better believe, like, it's unexpected. Like nobody wakes up in the morning and rolls out of bed and says, you know what, today I think I'm going to get a DUI. Like, so I work in a world of just like unexpected, unfortunate events, and being like mentally, I guess, like, you can't be mentally prepared for an unexpected situation, but for knowing, hey, if I end up in this situation, I know a really quality attorney that I can call. I know that I should wait to speak to my attorney before I make any statements or before I answer any questions. I can just say, you know what, I'd rather just call Joanna Nieves' firm up because I know I have this right to remain silent. I don't really know what it means, but I think that just because I have this right, I'm going to invoke that right. And really what it means is that, like, anything that's said, you have this right against like self-incrimination. And anything that you say as somebody that's a suspect of a crime can be used against you, whether it's in like you're fighting a restraining order in family court, but there's a domestic violence action pending in civil court. What you say in family court can carry over, and you need to know that these things can be looked at. It can be used against you, statements that you give to the police. And, my opinion is that police officers are tasked with a certain duty, which is, they make arrest. And if their job is to make arrest, usually what they're looking for when they're gathering information is, who am I going to arrest tonight?
Mhm.
So I tend to let people know that, and no matter how friendly a police officer is, and no matter what they're saying, they are allowed to use like deceptive tactics in order to gather information. The police are allowed to lie. And so
Mhm.
just like kind of having that frame of mind that you typically can't talk yourself out of a situation, so it's better to just be quiet and wait to talk to an attorney. um,
Yeah.
and then from there, being honest with your attorney, being in communication, and really working on your goals together, because not everything's cookie cutter, right?
Mhm.
Like not everyone's goals are the same. And so if somebody's got immigration consequences, that might be a different goal and focus than somebody who doesn't, for instance, right? Um,
Mhm.
but I think that's really important to remember. I mean, there's all these other technical procedural rights that people have throughout the criminal process, but the most important thing is finding like a trusted advisor, a trusted person that you can speak to, an attorney that just like makes you comfortable and has your best interest at heart. Just in terms of like what else to add, I know I started out mentioning like about the passion and purpose, like behind the things that you do. And like I've really had the opportunity to see the work that you do, see you speak in different arenas. And that's one thing that you constantly deliver is like there's a passion with what you do. And like you're very, have a purposeful vision. And I think that's important for people who are looking for an attorney. Like a lot of people pass the bar, a lot of people hang their shingle, they take whatever comes to the door because one reason or another. But like when you find an attorney who has niched into a very specific type of practice and it's like, this is what I do and I do it well, I feel like that's the kind of attorney I want to work with. Someone that's like, I do this work because I'm passionate about it and I want to see good results. And like, even though we're not allowed to promise outcomes, you better believe that I'm going to fight for this because it's something I believe in.
Mhm.
And I think that you can really feel that energy when you interact with an attorney. And so for those people who are listening, it's like if you ever find yourself in a need for an attorney, you can tell over the phone, from a phone consult, whether or not that person's really engaged and going to make you comfortable and care about your interests. And I
Mhm.
say, like, if it feels right, it feels right. And if it doesn't, probably run the other direction.
Mhm. Mhm. So true. So true. For the immigrant community, there is a serious power, right? There's serious power in having immigration lawyers, criminal defense lawyers, people who are on your side, who are willing to fight for you, who are willing to advocate for you, who are willing to take some time to just educate you and take advantage of it. If you have questions, if you're facing criminal charges, don't stay hidden. Don't stay unsure and nervous and up late at night wondering and searching the internet for the answer on Facebook. No, like really, I want to encourage everybody to reach out, talk, give me a call if you want help on the immigration side, give Joanna a call if you want help on the criminal side. Reach out. You could feel free to reach out to either of us and we could give you resources about other things. If you have some other thing keeping you up at night, we are here for you. But part of the reason for even doing a podcast like this, right, is just to share that passion, Joanna, that you just talked about, to share that desire to actually contribute to people who are facing some of the most horrific times of their lives
Yeah.
and to help them navigate it, because that's what good lawyers at least are here to do.
I was just going
Cool.
to add on to that. I think that's like a really critical point that, in both of the things that we do, people are facing like life altering consequences. And
Big time.
whether, it's almost compounded even more when somebody has immigration consequences on top of the potential penalties that they could face from the criminal side.
That's
So,
right.
it's like, not only do I have to worry about whether or not I'm going to, end up in jail, or if this is going to affect my job and, am I going to lose my job and then pay for my mortgage and be able to take care of my kids and all of this stuff. Then it's like, wait a minute. Can I even stay in this country?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
can I continue down the path that I was continuing to get whatever, immigration benefit that I was seeking? Like now it's just like this accumulation of stress. And so,
Yep.
the work that we do is very like human facing and like client facing, and just like we have to have this like humanity based like mindset that of like what people are going through, because
Yep.
even you know we're going to understand like if you're not showing up as your best self at these times, because they're hard times. And we've seen enough people and worked with enough people to really empathize with the situations. Like we get it, and we want to help you. That's the whole reason we do what we do, and our firms are growing and focused on people. And the more people we help, the more I think that just in turn shows
More
like the
work.
more our firm continues to grow.
For a person listening, if you're thinking in your mind, oh my gosh, so I've got to hire a criminal defense attorney and I've got to hire an immigration attorney, and oh my gosh, sometimes the answer to that question is yes.
Mhm.
Sometimes the answer to that question is that's actually the most cost-effective way to do this. You do it right from the beginning. You do it strategic from the beginning. Work with attorneys that are collaborative and that get the job done well from the outset to
Yeah.
reduce the overall cost long term. Anyway, I wanted to address that point real quick too.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, I tell people that all the time. It's like we're starting from the starting line right now, but I would hate for us to be like climbing out of a hole because, people you either wait too long, or you go with somebody that's cheaper, or you go
Yep,
with
yep.
nobody at all because you stuck your head in the ground, or whatever the case may be. Like, it's okay. Like, let's let the right people help you move forward versus kind of falling back, and now we got to, start from negative.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So key. Joanna, awesome. It's wonderful, and thank you so much for coming on board our podcast here today. What is like a final word of wisdom for us? Where this is the
Final,
Empowered Immigrant Podcast. What's something you would share to empower someone who's listening?
I would say that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
Nice.
even though we're in a situation where we don't know what the outcome is going to be, if you don't make a move, you're not going to have the even the chance of changing where you're at. Right. And so, like, I see this all the time, especially with people who might have, who are facing immigration consequences. Right. They have this conviction, and it's like, well, I can't do anything. Like, the immigration attorney literally cannot do anything to help you
Mhm.
until you undo this conviction. And then it's like, well, do I do it? Do I not do it? Absolutely. Because if you don't do it, you're just in the same situation that you're in right now,
Mhm.
except you're burning time. And actually, the faster you move, the better in these cases, because there is a timing element to it. But worst case scenario, let's say you don't prevail, you're in the same situation you were before you started. But best case scenario, you do prevail, and
Yeah.
now like the world changes for you. I mean, I've had people who were in ICE custody that got out because we got this granted. I've had people who were facing deportation that the proceedings didn't go through. I've had people who were actually deported.
Mhm.
We got this
Yep.
vacated and have re-entered the country. I have people who were, who are now email. Like, I just got an email about a month and a half ago for somebody that's like, I have my citizenship now. So it's like, I've seen it work in so many different ways. And so my biggest thing is like, take action.
Mhm.
And do it in the right order. Like, if you keep hopping from immigration attorney to immigration attorney to immigration attorney, and they're like, we can't help, it's probably because you need to go see a post-conviction attorney,
Yeah.
fix it first, and then go back to a good immigration attorney like Otis.
Joanna, thank you so much. And to everybody tuning in, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. If this was useful, if this was helpful, please subscribe. Please rate the podcast. Please share it with others. We want to share our mission. We want to grow our community. We're here to help. If there's anybody out there that has an immigration need, an immigration question, a criminal defense need, a criminal related question, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Joanna. We are here to help. Thank you all so much. Joanna, thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.